Pause for a moment and really let this sink in, because this is not one of those messages you'll forget a few minutes from now. This is about someone who has been pretending everything is fine while your absence has become harder and harder for them to ignore. You know exactly who I'm talking about. The person who believed time would erase what they felt. The one who thought silence and distance would eventually make things easier. But something inside them is beginning to change. Not weeks from now. Not when life settles down. Right now, in the quiet moments when they are alone with their thoughts, they are facing feelings they have tried to avoid. They are thinking about you. They are feeling the weight of everything that happened. They are wondering what they should do next. People do not struggle this deeply over someone who means nothing. No one fights this kind of emotional battle after they have truly let go. This kind of conflict only happens when the heart is still holding on, even while the mind keeps trying to move forward. You did not come across this message by accident. Somewhere inside, you already sensed that something had shifted before you could explain it. Stay with me, because understanding these signs can help you see what happens when someone realizes they may have lost a person they truly love. When someone still has real feelings, those emotions never disappear simply because they want them to. Love does not vanish because of pride, fear, or distance. You were not imagining the connection between you. It was real, and part of you has always known that. That familiar feeling you get whenever something reminds you of them is not meaningless. It is a reminder of a bond that left a lasting mark. They experience the same thing more often than they expect. A song suddenly reminds them of you. A familiar place changes their mood. Someone repeats a phrase you used to say, and before they even realize it, their thoughts have returned to you. That is how genuine emotions behave. They do not disappear on command. The heart does not become restless over something it has forgotten. It becomes restless because something still matters. Whether they admit it or not, you still hold an important place in their heart. Maybe more than they expected, more than they know how to explain. When someone starts believing they might lose the person they still love, they rarely begin with a dramatic confession. Instead, they start reaching out in quiet ways. They check your profile more than once. They spend longer looking at your updates than they intended. They revisit old conversations, old pictures, and shared memories they thought they had left behind. Sometimes they react to something from weeks ago. Sometimes they quietly appear in your world again. It is not random. They are searching for a feeling they have not been able to replace. They may casually ask about you or mention your name in conversation without any real reason. These small actions are often attempts to feel connected without exposing how much they still care. This is not always closure. Sometimes it is someone standing outside the door, wondering if they still belong in your life. They are trying to figure out whether the connection is still alive. They want to know if they still matter to you without risking too much all at once. That is why these little signs should not be ignored. Someone who has completely moved on does not keep returning to the edges of your world. They do not keep searching for reminders or looking for evidence that you are still there. If they continue doing those things, chances are their emotional story with you is far from over. Then comes the next stage. Their silence begins to change. After disappearing for a while, they send a simple message, a casual question, a light comment, something that seems ordinary but carries more meaning beneath the surface. The timing feels unusual. The message feels carefully chosen. It often references something only the two of you would understand. That is because they are testing the connection. They want to know if the door is still open. They want to know if they can still reach your heart without risking complete rejection. So instead of saying, "I miss you," they ask how you have been. Instead of saying, "I regret everything," they bring up a shared memory. Instead of admitting they are afraid of losing you forever, they send a message that gives them a safe reason to reconnect. Behind those simple words are questions they are too afraid to ask directly. Do I still matter? Can I still reach them? Is it already too late? That is why a short message can carry enormous emotional weight. The words may be small, but the feelings behind them are anything but. If they do not receive the response they hoped for, those emotions rarely disappear. Instead, they continue building inside until they eventually need another way out. Soon, the truth starts slipping through the cracks. not through a perfect confession, but through small moments when their emotions become harder to hide. A normal conversation suddenly feels different. An ordinary question seems filled with unspoken meaning. Their carefully controlled emotions begin revealing themselves. Holding everything inside becomes exhausting. They reread old conversations. They revisit the beginning of your story. They type a message, erase it, rewrite it, then hesitate once again. They put the phone down, then pick it back up. They open your conversation. They read your last exchange one more time. They wonder whether today should be the day they finally say something. That is not what moving on looks like. That is what an ongoing emotional battle looks like. Outwardly, they may appear calm. They go to work, talk with friends, and continue their daily routine. But inside, they are carrying emotions they have never completely resolved. Remember this: silence does not always mean someone has stopped caring. Sometimes silence is simply someone trying to control feelings that have become too overwhelming. Sometimes it is fear keeping love locked behind closed doors, and that is why the nights affect them differently. During the day, distractions keep emotions buried. Work, responsibilities, and conversations fill the empty spaces. But when night arrives, everything becomes quiet. There are no more distractions. The memories return: your smile, your voice, the way you looked at them, a shared moment, a simple sentence they never thought they would remember forever. Those memories come back because real emotional connections leave deep marks. And when the world finally grows silent, the feelings they tried so hard to bury become impossible to ignore. They return to memories they thought they had already moved past. Moments that once seemed ordinary now feel incredibly meaningful. They remember the simple conversations, the quiet evenings, the comfort, and the feeling of being truly understood when things between you felt real. Sometimes even sleep cannot give them peace, because dreams bring you closer than distance ever could. For a moment after waking, they still feel that connection. Then reality comes back. The distance returns. The absence feels real again. This is why nights can become difficult for them. During the day, they can distract themselves. They can stay busy, focus on responsibilities, and convince themselves that everything is under control. But when everything becomes quiet, they have to face the feelings they have been trying to avoid. Understand this clearly. People do not lose sleep over something they have completely released. Restlessness usually appears when emotions are still alive, when something remains unresolved, and when the heart is carrying something the mind is trying to leave behind. Sometimes the body reveals what a person refuses to admit. Their reaction changes when they hear your name. Their emotions rise when something reminds them of you. Their breathing shifts when they unexpectedly see your face or hear your voice. A simple reminder can bring back feelings they thought they had already controlled. The body often reveals what pride tries to hide. For a long time, they may have told themselves it was only a memory. They believed time would make it disappear. They convinced themselves they made the right choice. They thought distance, distraction, or something new would eventually fill the space you left behind. They tried staying busy. They tried avoiding reminders. They tried using logic to explain their emotions. They tried acting like they had already moved on. But real feelings do not always disappear because someone wants them to. That is why you still return to their thoughts. That is why your absence has not brought the peace they expected. That is why the same emotions continue coming back despite all the reasons they created to let go. When someone has to repeatedly convince themselves they do not care, it often means a deeper part of them knows the opposite is true. Eventually, the distance between what they feel and what they show becomes too great. Something has to change. Either the walls they created begin to fall, or the truth becomes impossible to ignore. If they could speak honestly without fear, pride, or the need to protect themselves, they might say, "I still think about you more than I want to admit. I tried to convince myself that moving forward would erase these feelings, but it never worked. I kept myself busy and filled my days with distractions, but somehow you continued finding your way back into my mind. I remember more than just the big moments. I remember the small things too. The little details that should have disappeared with time but somehow stayed with me. I miss feeling understood by you. I miss how natural it felt to be myself. I miss being around someone who saw me without needing me to pretend. There are things I wish I had done differently, words I wish I had said, moments I wish I could revisit. I remember the ways I hurt you and the things I left unfinished. And underneath everything, there is one fear I cannot escape. What if I waited too long? What if you finally found happiness without me? What if you no longer want the love I failed to protect? What if I reach out and discover that the door is already closed? That is the real struggle. It is not always a lack of love. Sometimes it is fear standing in front of love. Fear of admitting mistakes. Fear of facing what was lost. Fear of feeling everything they tried so hard to bury. But fear does not erase emotions. It only delays the moment when those emotions demand attention. And one of the biggest changes is that they noticed something different about you. They noticed without you having to announce it. The version of you who always waited is no longer waiting in the same way. The version of you who reached out whenever the silence became painful has changed. The version of you who measured your worth by their actions has started choosing yourself again. And that changes everything. Maybe they once believed you would always remain available. They thought the connection would stay the same, waiting for them whenever they felt ready, lonely, or curious. But now, they feel the difference. You are no longer standing at the edge of their choices. You are no longer allowing their silence to control your emotions. Something inside you became calmer, stronger, more complete. And when someone realizes they may no longer have automatic access to a person they once took for granted, it creates a powerful emotional reaction. This is often when the desire to reconnect begins, not because your value suddenly appeared. Your value was always there. They simply began understanding what it means to no longer have easy access to it. Sometimes the moment you stop searching for answers is the moment the truth starts moving toward you. Not because you are playing a game. Not because distance is a strategy, but because returning to yourself changes everything. You used to wait for messages. You used to check your phone hoping for a sign. You used to analyze every conversation, every pause, and every change, trying to understand what went wrong. You carried unanswered questions. You replayed memories. You searched for the exact moment things started falling apart. You kept the door open even when it was hurting you. You explained yourself too much. You gave too much. You ignored your own needs because you hoped they would finally see your worth. Then something quietly changed. You became tired of living in uncertainty. You became tired of letting someone else's confusion control your peace. You became tired of giving your heart to a place that did not know how to hold it. So you stopped. You stopped chasing signs. You stopped trying to decode silence. You stopped proving that you deserved to be chosen. Instead, you returned your focus to yourself. You protected your peace. You reclaimed your mornings. You gave yourself the love and attention you were always giving away. It did not happen instantly. It happened slowly, through small choices and quiet moments where you chose yourself again and again. Now you are different, more grounded, more confident, more connected to your own worth. And that inner transformation carries a power people can feel. Even from a distance, they can sense when someone is no longer the same person they once had easy access to. People can sense when someone is no longer available to repeat the same cycle of confusion, waiting, and uncertainty. That is the shift they noticed. There is a powerful truth about love that many people only understand after time has passed. When you stop chasing something that keeps moving away from you, your entire energy changes. You become calmer. You become more grounded. You become stronger. Not because you are trying to make someone notice you, but because inner peace has a presence of its own. Desperation reaches. Peace attracts. And the moment you chose your own dignity instead of staying trapped in endless waiting, something between you changed. If they look back at you now, they do not see the same person who was constantly explaining, hoping, or trying to hold everything together. They see someone different, someone steady, someone who has created space within themselves. They feel the possibility that you may actually continue your life without them. And for someone who still has feelings, that realization can shake them deeply. Suddenly, the little signs start making more sense. The checking, the quiet watching, the testing, the almost messages, the strange timing, the small attempts to create an opening. All of it comes from one realization. You are no longer standing at the door waiting for them to decide. And once they feel that, they are forced to look at themselves more honestly. Listen carefully, because this changes how you understand the entire situation. You did not become stronger just to make them return. You became stronger because you were tired of leaving yourself behind for someone else. But personal growth always creates change around you. When one person becomes emotionally clear, the people connected to them often feel that shift. They may not understand it immediately, but they notice the difference. So what happens next? The first thing may be more signs. Not random signs, but more intentional ones. You may notice them becoming less hidden. You may sense their attention before they ever say anything. Then comes the possibility of contact. But often that contact does not begin with a dramatic confession. It begins carefully, a simple message, a small question, a casual sentence carrying emotions they are not ready to reveal yet. They may act relaxed because showing the full depth of what they feel feels too vulnerable. But if that first conversation opens the door even slightly, more can follow. A second message, a warmer tone, a longer conversation than expected, a topic that slowly moves away from small talk and towards something more meaningful. And if regret has been living inside them, it may begin appearing between the lines. Not always as one perfect apology. Sometimes it comes in pieces, a softer voice, a moment of honesty, a sentence that finally reveals they have been thinking about you more than they admitted. Do not overlook this part. The person who once avoided emotional depth may eventually be pushed toward honesty by the fear of losing you completely. But remember something important. Their journey belongs to them. Their timing belongs to them. Their willingness to face their emotions is something only they can choose. Your responsibility is not to pull them toward growth. Your responsibility is to remain connected to the truth you discovered within yourself. Let them show you who they are now. Let their actions speak louder than their emotions in the moment. Because this story is not only about what they might do next, it is also about who you have become. Your transformation is not a small detail. It is the heart of this entire experience. You learned how to survive the silence without losing yourself. You learned how to miss someone without allowing that missing to consume your entire identity. You learned how to love deeply without abandoning your own peace. And that matters more than any message, apology, or return. Because now, whether they come back tomorrow, months from now, or never, you are no longer standing empty-handed. You have yourself again. You have your clarity again. You found the part of yourself that was once waiting, hurting, and searching for answers, and you brought that part back home. That is not weakness. That is growth. That is healing. That is the reason you feel different now. And yes, that difference can be felt by others. People notice when someone they once had easy access to becomes someone they now have to approach with intention. Stay with this because many people misunderstand this part. Someone returning is not the greatest victory. The greatest victory is returning to yourself. Everything becomes clearer after that. So if you feel something shifting, allow yourself to acknowledge it, but do not lose your foundation. If they reach out, let them come with effort. If they speak, let them speak with honesty. If they return, let it be with something real, not temporary attention or empty words. You are no longer the version of yourself that accepts half love, half effort, or half presence. You have moved beyond that. And because of that, you no longer need to force what is meant to reveal itself. What is genuine will carry its own truth. What is sincere will not require endless guessing. What is ready will move differently from what only appears when someone feels lonely, uncertain, or afraid. That is why your stability matters now. It allows you to see clearly. It helps you recognize the difference between someone missing your presence and someone being prepared to honor your heart. And if they are truly ready, you will notice the difference. Not because everything will suddenly become perfect, but because it will finally become honest. The real question is not simply whether they return. The deeper question is whether what returns can meet the person you have become. Because this version of you is not waiting to be saved. This version of you already knows your value, already understands your worth, already carries a strength that no one else can create or take away. So allow this truth to settle in. The connection mattered. The feelings mattered. What happened between you was meaningful, even if things became quiet. Silence does not always mean emotions disappeared. Sometimes silence means someone is facing feelings they do not yet know how to handle. Sometimes it means they are standing in the consequences of their own choices and trying to understand how to move forward. But whether they cross that distance or not, you are no longer standing still, and that changes everything. You are no longer asking life to return what walked away. You are standing in your own strength now. From that place, everything becomes clearer. If they return with honesty, you will know how to receive it. If they do not, you will still have the person you fought to become. Either way, you do not lose yourself again. Remember this: their fear is theirs to work through. Their hesitation is theirs to understand. But your peace belongs to you. Your worth does not depend on anyone choosing you. You are no longer waiting by the window. You are no longer chasing answers from someone who could not provide them. You are here. You are stronger. You are clear. And whatever comes next, you are ready in a way you were not before. That is your power. That is your new beginning. And the next chapter of your life will not be written only from pain. It will be written from the strength you discovered within yourself.